Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a get ready with me, and I'm actually getting ready to go to the Beyonce concert, so super excited. I don't really know what makeup look I'm going to do, but definitely going to be something a little more dramatic since it is a night concert. I do want it to be a pretty intense look. So I have a lot of makeup in front of me. I'll pick and choose whatever I want and we'll see what I come up with. So yeah, if you guys want to see what look I come up with, then definitely keep watching. Alright, so I'm going to start off doing my hair first. So I'm just brushing through it, making sure there's no knots in there. And then I'm going to section off my hair. I just think it's easier to work in sections rather than everything all at once. And I'm going to curl my hair, and I'm using the Numi 32mm wand. And I'm just wrapping my hair around it, not really in any particular order, just pretty much as it lays. And I'm going to hold it there in place for a few seconds, so somewhere around 12 to 15, just because my hair is super long and it's very thick and it's a night concert, so I do want my hair to last all night or at least as long as possible. So after I leave it on there for a few seconds, I just let it drop right into my hand, and I kind of wrap it around using both hands and try to squeeze it together just so the heat stays in there and it can hold the curl longer. And I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. And if you guys notice, I don't curl it all the way. I kind of do it about 2-3 inches from the base, and I also leave about another 2 inches from the ends. So it's pretty much just the middle part that I'm curling. I just like the volume that it gives, and I like the look of the messy waves, so that's why I do it that way. And I don't alternate my curls either. I pretty much do it all going away from my face. I find that they don't bunch up together anyways, and they kind of do their own thing. And I'm pretty much doing the same thing throughout the rest of my hair. So I'm just curling it, leaving it there for a few seconds, and then letting it drop into my hand. And just press it between my hands so that it can grab the curl easier. And now I'm applying hairspray, and I'm using the Garnier Anti-humidity hairspray. And I'm applying it to the ends, just pretty much to where I curled it. I don't really do it towards the base of my hair just because I didn't do anything there. And apparently I like to spray a lot. As you can see, I got a little overwhelming. And I'm just going to keep sectioning off my hair. I pretty much just do it in about 3 layers. So now I'm on my third one, which is the last one, thank God. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm not doing anything different as any of the other layers. I'm just holding it. And then here I like to spray again, just so that top layer gets a good coat of the hairspray and can hold the curl longer. And now I'm finally on my last strand of hair, and I awkwardly wrap it around. I don't know why that side is just so hard. And I put everything forward, add my last bit of hairspray, and I don't really brush through it. I just kind of separate it a little tiny bit with my hands, but nothing too crazy. And now I can finally move on to my makeup, and I'm going to start off with priming my eyes, and I'm using the Urban Decay Long Lasting Eyeshadow Base, and it's just the original version. And I'm using the wand just to apply it to my eyelids, and then I'm going to go in with my fingertips and just make sure it's all well blended in. So I like to tap for a pretty long time, and then I'm going to set it using the Benefit Cosmetic Hello Flawless powder in the shade Petal, and I'm going to apply that to my lids with the Real Technique setting brush. And then I'm going to move into my transition shade, and I'm going to be going into the Morphe 350 palette and using the Morphe M5 brush to apply it. And I'm going to go into this color right here. It's just a orangey, taupey color. I like to start off with shades like this just because I do like that orange warm undertone to my looks. And I like to apply my eyeshadows in windshield and small circular motions just because I find it's the easiest way to spread the eyeshadow. And now I'm going to move on into the Urban Decay Naked Petite Heat Palette. And I'm using the Morphe M511 brush to apply my eyeshadow. And I'm going to use the, I believe it's the third eyeshadow. Yes, the third eyeshadow in the palette. It's just a taupey, kind of neutral color. So I'm going to start at the end of my eye and apply it towards the end, really focus it there for a little bit, and then blend it towards my inner corner. And I'm applying this eyeshadow right below my transition shade just because I do want that warm color to show. And I'm using the first brush that I used for my transition shade just to blend both eyeshadows together. And now I'm going into the Anastasia Beverly Hills Prism palette. And I'm going to dip into this chocolatey brown color in the palette. And I'm going to apply that using the Morphe M322 brush, and it's just a small dense dome-shaped brush that I like to use when I want to deepen up my looks and really have that color payoff in the outer corner. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm placing the product on the outer corner, really make sure that I'm blending it in really small circular motions, and just so I can get that color intensity that I want. And as you can see, I'm just going back and forth, just reapplying the product and blending it out towards my inner corner. And now I'm going to go back into the palette and pick up this last color here. And it's a brownish purple shade. And I'm using the same brush and doing the same thing. So applying it towards the end, really spend my time there blending it out, make sure that it fades well into the other colors. And then whatever's left over, just drag it towards my inner corners. And as you guys know, you can never do enough blending. So I'm going to go back into that first brush that I used for my transition shade and just blend everything together. I pretty much do that in between every shade. And now I'm reaching for the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. And I'm picking up this last color on the top row here. It's very similar to the last one that I used. Not the purple one, but the one before. But I feel like it's a little darker and I can kind of intensify the look. I don't really gravitate towards black shades. I like to stick more to the browns and just try to get a darker shade in order to deepen the look. And I'm still doing the same thing that I did with the other shades, so just focus on the outer corner and blend towards my inner corner. And now I'm going into the Morphe M503 brush, and I'm not applying any products. I'm just using it to help me blend out the shades that I already have. So I'm just pretty much going through the whole look, making sure that it's all well blended. And now I'm going to go back into that third shade that I used before, just because I lost a little bit of the intensity when I was blending everything together. And I'm applying a little bit of that product on the same brush that I did the first time. And I'm just brushing through the edges, just making sure that everything is well blended. And then I'm going back into that first brush that I used for my transition shade and going through everything and making sure it's all well blended. And now I'm going into the Too Faced Born This Way concealer, and it's in the shade Almond. And I'm going to apply that using a small BH Cosmetics brush that I got a really long time ago in one of those sets that brings a brush for pretty much everything. I have no idea what it's called, I'm telling you. It was a really long time ago, but I love this brush. I pretty much use it anytime I'm applying concealer. And I'm using it now just to carve out my cut crease. And I kind of take my time and work in small sections, so I really make sure that I get that shape that I want and then kind of drag the product through my eyelid and really pat it down so it dries up. And now I'm going back into the Modern Renaissance palette and I'm picking up this champagne kind of goldish light color. And I'm using another brush that I picked up in that same BH Cosmetics kit. And I'm just using that to apply it right over where I applied my concealer. That concealer serves as a really good base, and now this product just sticks right on. And I'm going back now into the Urban Decay Petite Heat palette and picking up that last shade again and kind of re-intensify the look and apply it right where that light gold color meets with the darker shades, and kind of go through different brushes so everything is well blended out. And now I'm going into the Stila liquid eyeshadow in the shade Smoky Storm, and I'm applying that right over where I applied that light gold shade. I just find that this really takes the look to another level and just really makes it shimmery and makes the look just a tad bit more dramatic. And now moving on to eyeliner, and I'm using the e.l.f. liquid liner in black. And I'm really trying to get the line as close as possible to my lash line just because I don't like a thick eyeliner and I do want most of my look to show through. So I'm just using this just to bring a little more drama to the eyes. So now I'm going to move on to the wing part, and I just work in small sections honestly. So I pretty much do the eyeliner throughout my eye, and once I have that line down, I move on to the wing. So I kind of just flick it off and try to connect that line towards the rest of the line that I created and just fill in the spaces. And honestly, I'm really impressed with the way this wing came out. And what's even more impressive is that the other eye came out just as good, which honestly, that never happens. There's always one side that looks better, but I feel like I got these pretty even. So now I'm moving on to my face, and I'm going to start off with the Smashbox Primer Water. And this is in the coconut scent. And I'm just going to let that dry for a little bit so I can move on to my actual primer. And I'm using the Maybelline Master Prime, and this is in the 400, which is just a clear shade. And I like to start off with applying the product to my cheeks and the rest of my T-zone, so my forehead and my chin area, and then I disperse it throughout the rest of my face. And now moving on to my foundation, and I'm going to be using the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation, and it is in the shade W1, which is Bone. And I think I'm going to mix that in as well with the Covergirl Trueblend foundation in the shade M5, which is Caramel Beige. And I'm going to mix in a little bit of the Covergirl foundation to the Estee Lauder just because it is way too pale for me and it really washes me out. So I'm just mixing it in on the back of my hand and then dotting it all over my face. And I know it looks really intense right now, but I promise you it is not a lot of product. It just looks like a lot because I am placing it all over my face. But once I blend it out, it's not going to be as intense. So I'm going to do that using the Morphe M39. It's just that rounded top kabuki brush. I love this to blend in my foundation. I used to use the Sigma F80, but I quickly let that go when I found this brush. So I'm just pretty much blending it in circular motions all over my face, and I'm just really making sure that I'm blending the product, and I'm also dragging it down my neck because I don't want any harsh lines in that area. And I take a long time on my forehead and around the perimeter of my face because I do want it to blend in evenly and I don't want there to be a line like a mask, which is also why I'm going into the Real Techniques. This is a big face and body blending sponge, and I'm just pouncing it all over my face, making sure that I don't have any brush marks or any streaks. And I'm moving into my concealer, and I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, and it's in the shade Light Sand. And I'm also going to apply some of the Too Faced Born This Way concealer, and it is in the shade Almond. And I'm going to mix those in together just because I find that if I just use the Tarte one, it might be a little too light for me. So I'm going to start off with first placing the Tarte concealer on my under eye area, and I'm doing it in a kind of a triangle format. And I'm also placing it on my forehead, cupid's bow, chin, and just applying the Too Faced concealer to the outer parts of it. And I'm using the Real Techniques blending sponge. I don't know why I can't say blending brush. I want to say blending brush so bad instead of blending sponge, but you know what I mean. And I'm just using that to blend out the concealer and really mixing it into my foundation. I don't like when there's a very harsh line, so I try to blend in everything as much as possible. And I'm doing that on the other side and really making sure that I get right on the under eye just so it doesn't settle into any creases. And I'm also being really careful not to mess up that wing because honestly, I think I would die if that happens. And it's actually happened before and it totally kills my mood. And now I'm going to set my concealer, and I'm going to be using the Too Faced Born This Way setting powder, and I'm going to apply that with the same Real Techniques sponge. I'm just going to use the other end, and I'm really pressing that into my concealer, making sure that I'm setting it. And I also look up just to stretch out the under eye area, and that way I'm not setting any creases. And now I'm going to set the rest of my face, and I'm using the Benefit Cosmetic Hello Flawless Powder, and it is in the shade Petal. And I'm going to apply that using this Wet n Wild powder brush. Doesn't really have a number, but it just looks like your regular powder brush. And I'm just applying a little bit of the product to set my foundation because it is an outside concert and I'm probably going to sweat a lot. Well, actually I did sweat a lot. It was really bad. So thankfully, I did all of these steps. I know it seems like a lot, but it was necessary. So now I'm bronzing my skin, and I'm using that Makeup Forever Profusion bronzer with this Sonia Kashuk brush, and I believe it's a number 100. And I'm applying that to my cheeks and my forehead, and I'm also going to place some along my jawline and right under my chin. And now I'm going to move on to my contour, and I'm using the Benefit Cosmetic Hoola bronzer, and it is the mini guy. And I'm applying that with the Morphe E49 brush. I don't really know what this brush is for, but lately I've been using it for contouring. I just find that it gets right into my hollows. I don't have much of hollows. I do have a round face, so it's kind of hard for me to find it sometimes, but I find that with this brush, it's a lot easier than with any other brush I've used. So I just placed a contour powder, and then I really take my time blending it out just to make sure that I don't have this really harsh line going down the sides of my face. And I'm also going to use the same Hoola powder to contour my nose, and I'm just doing it really lightly. I don't do an intense contour. And now I'm going to use the Morphe M536 brush to clean up my contour. And I'm dipping it right into that same Too Faced powder. And I'm kind of just drawing it out. I tend to go a little low when I'm applying my bronzer and stuff. So I feel like this definitely helps to sharpen up the look. And then I'm going to go back into that Wet n Wild powder brush just to clean up the powder that I just placed. I don't really let it bake there. I just pretty much immediately take it off. And now I'm moving on to my blush, and I'm using the Tarte blush in the shade Party. I believe I got this with like one of those birthday things that Ulta or Sephora gives you. I'm not sure. And I'm using the Morphe M105 brush, and I'm just lightly applying some of the blush to the apples of my cheeks and then just blend it back. And now I'm going to go into the Morphe M406 brush, and I'm going to use this to just blend out everything that I just placed, just to make sure that it looks even. And now I'm going to move on to my highlighter, and I'm using the Laura Geller Gelato Baked Highlighters, and this is in the shade Gilded Honey. This is definitely an oldie but a goodie. Whenever I don't know what highlighter to use, I always go to this one. I feel like it goes with so many looks. And I'm going to apply that using the Morphe M501 brush, and I'm just placing it right on the high points of my cheeks, and I'm also going to apply a little bit on my forehead as well as my cupid's bow, and I'm placing it with my finger just because I find that it's a little more intense that way. And I'm going back to the brush and applying it on my nose and then with my finger again and blending it out. And now moving on to my eyeliner, and I'm using the NARS Larger Than Life eyeliner, and it is in the shade Via Veneto. Honestly, this is the best eyeliner ever. I find that I could wear this throughout the whole night without having to really reapply. It'll just wear off a little bit, but honestly, it's still visible by the end of the night. And now I'm going to start deepening up the look, and I'm going to use this shade right here to really intensify the lower lash line. And I'm going to apply it using the Morphe M432 brush. So I'm just going to dip in there, and I'm going to start off by applying it towards the end of my eye. Really focus the product there. and then kind of blend it towards my inner corner as I go, but I do want the majority of the product to be on the end. And I'm just placing the product where I want it, and then I'm kind of tapping it in towards my lash line. And now I'm going to move on to this shade right here. I'm going to start blending these two together. And I'm going to do that using Morphe M321 brush. It's kind of just a small pencil brush. I love to use this to blend out the shades in my lash line. So I'm just dipping into the two colors that I showed you guys. And I'm starting off at the end, really blending it out, and then going towards my inner corner and dragging it down as I go as well. And now I'm going to go into this color using the same flat definer brush that I used before. And I'm going to place that right on my lash line. I lost some of the intensity when I was blending it out, so I always like to go back and reapply it. And now I'm going to use this color right here to try to highlight my inner corner. And I'm going to do that using the same brush that I used to apply my lid shade. So I'm kind of just going right into my inner corner and just use the same shape of the brush to apply the product. And now moving on to my eyebrows, which means we are almost done. So I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Cosmetics eyebrow pencil, and it's in the shade Neutral Brown. So I start off with the spoolie and I just brush up my eyebrows, and then I go in just underlining it. I do it really lightly because I don't like an intense eyebrow. So as I apply the product, I always go in with the spoolie and kind of blend it out. And now on this top part here, I always comb down my eyebrows and then kind of do the same shape of my eyebrow. And as you can see here, it is a dramatic change. It really frames the face and pulls the look together. So I'm doing the same thing on the other side, just brushing through as I go. And now I'm going to carve them out. So I'm using this e.l.f. Cosmetics correcting, I think it's a color correcting palette. And I'm using that with that same little BH Cosmetics brush that I got in my kit. And I kind of only do the tail area, and then whatever I have left over on the brush, I use it on the front part. I just really like a defined, kind of sharp eyebrow tail. So that's pretty much what I focus the concealer on. And whatever is left over towards the front. And now I'm going to go into this color right here to highlight the brow bone. And I'm going to do that using this Morphe M209 brush. So I'm going to go in there and just apply the product, focusing it on the arch area. I don't really like a very intense highlight on my brow bone, but it kind of just pulls the look together. So I apply just a tiny bit. And now I'm using this Milani Make It Last setting spray. And apparently I'm going ham there and just placing it everywhere and letting it dry out before I move on to my eyebrows. And I'm using this Rimmel Brow This Way brow gel in the shade Medium Brown. It is a little light for my eyebrows, but I do like that it gives it just a little bit of definition with my actual eyebrows, so that contrast makes it look even more natural, which I really appreciate. And I just go brushing my eyebrows up. I like that more natural feathery look. And apparently I wasn't satisfied with the highlighter, so I'm going into this Wet n Wild highlighter and going over where I had applied my highlighter previously. And moving on to mascara, I'm using this L'Oreal Voluminous Carbon Black Mascara. And I start at the base of my eyelash and kind of wiggle it around to get the product up. I find that this way it really lengthens and separates my eyelashes. And whatever's left over from when I apply it to my eyelash, I work on the bottom lash line as well. And now I'm moving on to my lip liner, and I'm using this Wet n Wild Perfect Pout lip liner in the shade Lay Down the Mauves. It's a really pretty mauvey color. It's really natural, and it's just a little darker than the other one that I have, the Bear to Comment. So I did want a little more color and more definition, which is why I reached for this one. And I'm not outlining my lips too dramatically, kind of just going over my natural line. And now I'm going to use this Too Faced liquid lipstick, and it is in the shade Sell Out. So I just placed the color pretty much all over my lips and even on top of my liner. As you can see, this is a really pretty neutral, kind of everyday nude color. And now I'm going to do that tissue paper trick that I showed you guys on my last video. So I'm just placing my lips over it. I don't know, I feel like it makes a difference. It makes my lips look pouty. And the hair is down, which means the look is finally complete. Alright guys, so this is the completed look right here. I'm actually going to get going because I am running late and it's like an hour away from here, especially with Miami traffic, so we'll see. So I'm going to try to insert some clips of my outfit as well as the concert. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!
Fingers on the radio.